What's up, guys? So I'm 21 years old, and I just recently made this case study a few months back on how I scaled this brand to 750K rev in 63 days was the time. And here you can see in the past 30 days that says 145K net profit across my brands. Now that's not 100% accurate, but just a bit of proof. And in this one, this is gonna be a long video. I'm gonna let you guys know right now. We're going to be going through the entire case study, but I'm going to be telling you guys all the new learnings that I've had. So what I've seen working more specifics, basically me just going through this entire Miro board. Let's zoom out so you guys can see it all. The entire Miro board that I built out on every thing and just giving you guys a sauce. So, and this will be a long one. Maybe break it up, but I definitely recommend that you take notes. So we're going to jump straight into it. Main thing, foundation. So most importantly, we have to go over this. Unfortunately, if you want to skip it, you can. But it's the most important thing is mindset. At the end of the day, mindset is everything in e-commerce. This is, if you take a look at how e-com actually scales, it's going to be like this. It's not a linear thing, and you won't see a constant graph of growth, because for every bit of growth there comes a new level of problems, especially this, whether it's back-end things with fulfillment, payout holds, ad account bans, team issues, needing a new winning ad, anything inside of there. So I've only been in this game a short time, and I've had massive failures. So I've had like negative 60K days. I've had, this store right here that we're even taking a look at was technically a failure. We scaled it up crazy fast, did crazy good, but the back end, I was on the top of it, it flopped. Couldn't even exit it. Lots of different things. So the best thing that you can do is you need to zoom out. You need to have faith in your goals, your plan, and you need to have focus. If you have those three things, everything else that I can go over, you'll get it done, realistically. You need to zoom out. So don't just look at what's the fastest way I can get to 10K a day, what's the fastest way I can get to 100K a month, to start thinking over in years, realistically. For this year, I know my goal is I want to hit 10M in a single month. Now, don't mind the gloves, it's free gold, but to hit that, that's not going to happen this quarter. That's realistically maybe not going to happen next quarter. That's a goal that will be achieved maybe by Q4, but there's a whole lot of preparation that's going into that now. Like, I'm planning for it now. The teams I'm building, the systems I'm testing, all the information I'm bringing in, and the way we're compounding is all to build up to hit that goal. Now I've had to zoom out to achieve that. In the beginning, don't just look at things as in, I want to get 1K day, I want to get 3K day, I want to get 30K day. You need to start thinking, is this compounding? Is it growing? Am I bringing in profits? All these different ways that you can approach this, and it'll keep you in the game much longer versus, just blitz scaling your way and then getting cooked by a payout hold. So having faith, you need faith 100%. You won't get anything done, I promise you, if you don't have faith, and you'll get a way more done if you're grateful for it all. So outside of that, going over focus, you need to, major thing I've noticed, focus is important. Almost nobody has it. So this is going to be a bit of a yap sesh. When you're going over everything in e-commerce, you need to understand that let's say you're testing ads and you found one concept that's really working. Focus isn't, you deciding, okay, I'm gonna, launch 100 more ads today. Focus is, really diving into that one ad, pulling the learnings, pulling new tests, pulling the data on it, pulling the comments from it, pulling the post-purchase surveys on the back end, seeing the conversion rate, seeing the click-through rate, pulling all these different things, and really, focusing. If you think about what it means to focus a camera, it zooms in and the quality enhances. That's what focus is. You need to remove all other distractions and dive in. If you're testing multiple stores without like teams and systems in place, it's going to be pretty much impossible for you to scale. Now I can manage multiple brands, but if I just focused on one, now one would grow a lot faster than me kind of spreading myself right now. So I've had to learn new ways to do this. I have about 25 people in my team, with things like this. Systems, we operate out of Monday.com, dashboards, charts. I have a VA that uploads ads for every single one of my brands. I go in there weekly now, and I make briefs for each one. I have to get on calls. You know, there's team systems that you have to find ways to get more out of doing less. But in the beginning, you want to get as much as possible out of everything. And you can only do that with focus. So that right there, and approaching things from a standpoint of testing, you have to think a bit like a mad scientist. You're not going to come in and, every single ad concept you test wins, every single product you test wins. No, this is you going from 0 to 100K. This is you going 100K to 1M. This is the guys I know doing 1M to 10M. You have to approach it a bit like a mad scientist. So how I look at everything is answering questions. So, for example, with the ads, if I find something that works, the question that I want to answer is, okay, who am I targeting? That's realistically what you're trying to understand with marketing is who is my customer? Who is, and trying to find different pockets of them. So you may have your broad avatar of like women 25 to 45, with knee pain. But there's more specifics about them. There's their habits, there's their daily routines, there's those labels. And you want to keep asking the questions that answer that. And then the way you answer them is by testing it in that account. So approach things with testing instead of just thinking, okay, I need more ads up. I've had brands that took weeks to figure out. It's like a creative stage, but as long as the inputs kept flowing, eventually something cracked. So this is to go back to the whole foundation of zooming out. You want to move from just thinking, okay, can I get to 10K day this week? Can I get to 100K day, by the end of this one? Or, 100K month. You want to move from thinking like this to what are we doing every day? Are we testing things new every day? I've had to have this talk with my strategist when we were scaling this actual burn I'm giving you the case study on, where we were testing for about 4 weeks straight and nothing was hitting. There was no new winners. The only thing that was working was a past ad that we had. And so I had to, send a long voice note speaking to them saying, everything that we're putting up there is getting us closer to, achieving the goal. The goal isn't just a new winning ad. The goal isn't just to scale. The goal is to get better. The goal is to test new things. If we're tracking our inputs and we're really looking for answering that question that I just posed to you guys, who is my customer? Then you're going to continually get closer and closer to the goal, and then boom, that breakthrough. Exactly what happened to us. So you're seeing, this chart that I showed you guys. Let's go back up to it very quickly. Second. You're seeing this chart right here, guys, but take a look at it. Did you see this kind of stagnation? There's a limited amount of growth right here. And then overnight, it was just boom, straight up 30. Kind of stagnates a little, drops, and then boom, straight up to 40. That was his inputs. This whole entire time, we were still testing ads every single day. Probably more ads than you're launching right now. But that breakthrough came eventually, and that was because we didn't slow down. And we just focused on, okay, where are we testing? How can we test it better? Are we getting them up every single day? And just compounding off of that. So I think this is the main thing that you guys need to understand, and then point of constraint focus. So the best way to approach kind of scaling besides just input focus is constraints. So this applies to everything that you do realistically. So in every business, in every goal, well, let's say, for example, we can use your hose. If you want to get water to come out of your hose, but there's a kink in it, that's the constraint. You want it to flow smoothly. So the same thing applies to your business. If you wanted to 100x your business, what's the one thing stopping you from doing so? For lots of guys, you're going to say it's your ads, but realistically, it's your back end. Because once you do that, you're off. So, and even maintaining that sort of output that would maintaining that level of input that would have to be required. As in more ads, better tracking, more team, all these different things, the cash flow. These are all things that once you identify them, then you understand what the constraint is, and that's where you put all your focus, especially as you start, building out team systems. And you can't apply 100% focus to everything you do. So you need to allocate it correctly. And the best way to do that is with point of constraint. So now into actual sauce. So this right here, basic setup for you guys. We got course videos on this, but I'm just going to explain to you guys what we did. So shipping and delivery. We have our current supplier. We ship from China. source from out there, send it out. Once we start scaling it with the supplement, and then we have the factory that I visited, we move over, we do active ingredients. So about 70 to 100% active ingredients. So make sure it's quality, FDA, CGMP, and has the ability to go into Amazon, in retail, TikTok shop, all these different ones, and you're not going to get cooked by the FTC or any of these complaints about the product being shit, So, and that's on the product and the shipping side. You can start off with shipping from China. If you're wanting supplements and you're trying to stack MIR, that's going to be a bit of an issue. You would be much better off using US 3PL, and we have that inside of the community. If you're in Dialed, send me a message. We have a higher scale one. If you're not, we've gotten one that you can work with as well. But as you're scaling up more, you're going to want to use a US 3PL realistically. But depending on your product, you want to understand this. So using track 123, parcel panel, I think it's called, any of these to understand what your average delivery time is. So from order to delivery when it's on their doorstep. That's what you want to track, not just the average shipping time that your supplier is giving you. You want to really understand this, because if you can track that, you can start to understand at what points do people enter into the chargeback, so they try to refund, and then optimize for that. So you can set up email flows maybe 4 days down, where it sends out and says, hey, just quick update about your product, blah, blah, blah. 7 days out, hey, quick update about your product, blah, 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 depending on how big your delays are. And there's things you can also do as well, like pre-orders, where you'll show this on the product page. We have course videos on this, so that if you need to extend out, the shipping time, the purchase MLQ, whatever it may be, you're able to do that correctly. Around banking and payments, the main thing that I use currently is Mercury and Slash. Slash is a new one. They're very great. We have the head of accounts inside of the group. I have a web consultant out in Dubai, so my boy Samuel. I operate with him, and I'm moving over to Chase is the goal for all of my businesses. And then you want to have an LLC specifically for your store. And then once you start getting more complex, holding companies, trademarks, etc., etc. But main thing, LLC to be protected. To start off, just get up fast. You want primarily something in the US base. That'll be best for your Shopify payments. Otherwise, you're kind of cooked. Ad account, USA LLC verified BM, and then you want to have a ad account with a good DSO. So you could either purchase a Meta Pro ad account from like someone like our plug in the community or outside, or you can just go with a regular trusted ad account that you made yourself or you got from friends, family, etc., and then just scale off that. When you're pushing numbers, you would want to get something like GDE, so premium, which will give you unlimited ad account approvals. If your wedding ad gets rejected, you send them a message, they get it back up. That unbans, lots of different benefits that you only get with the agency ad account, but it's only your personal ad account. So you could then apply to credit lines, etc., etc. And then you would also like to have an insider for kind of the nitty gritty sort of things, but that's a bit harder to get. Shopify payments is the main thing you want to use. I think I touched on this a little bit. PayPal. Take PayPal off once you're scaling. If you're testing, leave it on. Once you're scaling, take it off, because you can't block chargebacks through there. And that's how I got cooked every single time. Was never taking PayPal off. Trust me, when you're doing numbers, get rid of PayPal. High-risk processors. Have a backup. So different ones. There's Phoenix, EMS, High-risk pay. There's Maverick. There's many different ones, but I have one store that's swapping over to Phoenix right now that's very sub heavy. So depending on what you need, the fees are going to be very different. Shopify, the approval rates, everything, but it's always great to have a a backup in there, because if you go down, the most important thing for you is cash flow. So you want to have one of these ready, swap over, get your cash flow going, because at the end of the day, as long as you're still moving forward, you're selling it. Also, we need to touch on proxies. This isn't super important, so we'll skip this if I'll be honest with you guys. Next, product research. So I'm going to give you guys the actual sauce on product research right now. So it's pretty simple, realistically. I probably won't touch on lots of these things, but high TAM. You want a big TAM, you want a large market, you want an emotional pain point. So something where there's multiple avatars that you can, find the labels on them. So easy way to do this is go on Reddit, check the comments. If you're going on Calendar, look at the top video, check the comments, look at the conversion rate, look at the sales on it, and then basically you just look at products and you can tell if there's a emotional pain point attached to it always. I now mainly only run supplements because of the exit valuation, the MRR, and just, realistically, it's a lot easier to market personally, I think, than something like fashion, which you're also going to have to deal with a shit ton of refunds, or tech and gadgets, any of these sorts of things. I stay away from those now. So I'm mainly a supplement focus. That's what the 101 guys are really running. And there's a couple small little market pockets that you could buy within there that would get you extremely low cost per click, CPMs, and no comp, but gotta gatekeep that. So those are all things, main things from product research. Callow data, that's my favorite. Brand search is number 2. They're extremely good. Shout out to the boy that in the community. He made it. He's in G. So if you're in there, you can always send him a message about things. It's got every Shopify store. You can search by themes, all these different things. It's very, very, very valuable. I use it, and there's new updates coming out that allow you to integrate with your ad account, see data, different landing pages, etc. Buy competition, I would use that, as well as a Facebook ad library. These different ad spy tools, they're all good, but realistically, I don't know. I think it's kind of geeky, so I don't really use them. I just go in Meta ad library. You can see the impressions now, so you're good enough. Repeat purchases in LTV. You want to get a 3-to-1 on your CAC to LTV. So this could even just be based off of markup. So if someone's purchasing your product for 15 and it took you $5 to acquire them, let's imagine there's no product cost or shipping at all, then you've got 3-to-1. But with something that's a repeat purchases, you can get a 9-to-1. You can get a 12-to-1. You can get some crazy number, that allows you to purchase someone. So even you might be able to acquire that customer for $15, sell it to them for 15. Ignore cost of goods, ignore shipping, ignore fees, any of this. But if they buy back for the next 3 months, you're going to make $30 profit because their LTV is now 45 instead of 15. So this is why I really like supplements. And there's other products that you can get this on. If you optimize for it, I know some fashion stores that have crazy high LTVs, but that's a completely different game. You have to really dive into the back end with supplement. It's clear every 30 days you need it, but that's extremely valuable. Marketing gut check. So be confident. That's actually a very good point that I have here. You need to be confident in what you're marketing. So oftentimes it's more of a gut feeling that you're going off of, because lots of different products fit that criteria that I gave you guys. It's very simple. Large market, high emotional pain point. But if you're not confident that you can market this thing, because even if you're ripping ads to start, to get to the next level, the high levels, you have to market. You have to make custom content. You have to do product seeding or AI UGC. You have to make scripts. You have to have image ads. You have to make advertorials, listicles, all these different things that if you can't market this product or you're not confident that you can do it, it's going to flop. That's a full of pump and dump, So have that gut feeling with the product and then move from there with it. Any product that's selling is realistically a winning product. Shout out to Fino, but you need to really understand that your persona with that marketing is everything. So you're not just selling to women 35 plus, as I said. You're selling to Amy, 23, Pilates, undisciplined, blames everyone else. You want to tie it to her reality, to her labels, to, what type of content she's seeing, what format she likes. I've even gone so deep as I fully knew my avatar schedule for this brand. I could tell you 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. was the worst part of their day, and I could tell you exactly why. I used the exact words that they had on it, and that's why we were able to bang out winning ads on it. You want to really have this level of understanding, and you only get this by testing and diving deeper into your personas, asking them questions. So surveys, you can either text them. We have a 101 guy that does this, and just really, really, really diving deep into it all. And then final couple things about product research. I'm not a mass tester. So the criteria or the strategy for how we launch is realistically 4 products at once. But I don't consider that mass testing because we spend time, choosing them. It's based on this criteria. And our goal, once we get something up, is to lock in and scale it. So boom, we're going to listicles. We're going, analyzing that, analyzing the PDP, looking at the data, finding what the constraint is, setting up the foundations of the team, the systems, the prompts, the research, all these different things that transitions you from, just a pump and dump mass tester to building a brand, So When I do product research, it's I'm looking for a brand. I'm not just looking for because I could sell you these earphones right now, and they're the exact same as the ones at Walgreens. But if I told you that these are Apple, there's more value attached to it. So brand is it's a massive thing. Me watching this video, the guys who have seen lots of my videos, you guys now associate me in the terms of all those videos, whether you got value from them, you thought it was annoying, whatever it may be, that is built in association, a brand that compounds over time. If you're not able to do that, then you're just a product. So you're not going to be around over time. You're just marketing arbitrage, as they like to say it. You're just buying a customer for 5, selling it for 15. But when you have a brand, you can buy them for 5. You could get them to purchase for 15, 15 again, 15 again, 15 again, 15 again. And then you can have new people coming in from word of mouth, which is kind of where I'm trying to transition to with all my stores. But that's like a longer play, an exit sort of play. You're just coming in, you just want to make some money, bro. Fuck it. Be a product type of guy, to each their own. Make your money, bro. But yes, let's get to the next thing. Quick little masterclass on product sourcing as well as I know it. So let's go over, kind of things that people will tell you that aren't actually correct. Just because you don't find a product on 1688 doesn't mean that it's not sourceable. It just means that it's not being actively sold. So if you're able to make a custom product, which everyone can, then any product is sourceable. The products that your agent is able to find, that's because there's a factory that they're connected to that will sell them the stock for it, and then they'll sell it to you at an upcharge and allow you to drop ship it. Then they'll send it out to the customer. That's how a drop shipping agent works. They connect you with the factory and operate as a middleman on the margin. So as you get to scale, what we've started to do is just go straight to the factory. So I went out there to China, visited my supplement supplier, went through the factory, went to the lab, hung out with them for 3-4 days, and I plan to go out there every business quarter. Shout out to them. But that was building a relationship with the factory, not a drop shipping agent. So the cost that I'm getting from them is literally, we can compare it because I compared it with the agent that I work with. It was $9 to drop ship this sort of thing. The agent getting it from some factory they found, and there was no quality test, there was no FDA, there was no CGMP, there was no relationship with them, there was no terms, no nothing, no credit, anything. $9. The factory, which I know, because I'm verified to documents, I have a relationship, I'll go out there, visit them. It was 2.6. Do the math on that. And that's only one person in the middle. So yeah, try to get closer and closer to the source as you can with his own product, So main thing right there. Secondly, shipping. So just because you found the factory doesn't mean that you could ship it. So oftentimes the factory, their shipping cost isn't going to be the same as you could find from like a normal Chinese 3PL. So what a mistake that we just recently made with our brand was we went extremely cheap on the shipping. We found fucking unbelievable number on it. Our break-even for us was almost a 1 because of how cheap it was. But when we did the calculations after we started scaling, was that just because we were paying cheaper for shipping, we were actually losing more money because of refunds, chargebacks, delays, having to send out gift cards, all these different things. So if we had actually just paid, extra to move it up front to the US 3PL or for the, the fastest possible and safest shipping line, we would have been more profitable. And that's not something that you'll often hear. You'll often hear get the lowest cost, get the lowest shipping. But you need to factor in that quality control is extremely important, especially when you're building a brand and you're scaling. Because when the customer gets the product, that's not the end of it. Or when the customer buys a product, that's not the end of the journey. The product has to ship to them. The product has to be good. Otherwise, chargeback. You're cooked. The amp is taking you out, my boy, I promise you. So make sure you're really diving into these things and do them well. Secondly, terms and negotiations. So when you're working with these guys, the best thing you can do is build a long-term relationship. So don't be, for lack of better terms, a hoe. Okay. Don't jump from supplier to supplier to supplier. You find a supplier that's doing her job or his job very well. You have no issues. The costs are good. I'm not saying don't, you know, just because you have a girlfriend doesn't mean you can't have a wife. But I'm saying invest in that, always. Build it up because if things are working smoothly, over time it'll build up and they'll lower your terms for you. They'll give you 30-day net. I know a guy who I don't personally know him, but I'm in a group with them that was able to secure 180-day net terms. That's half a year he doesn't have to pay for his cost of goods. That's unbelievable. But that's from investing in that relationship. So make sure you're doing that, but don't stick with shit out of loyalty. Protecting against copycats. So as you're scaling up more, there are more than likely a copycat. You verb something with Gallo, each to you. I do the same thing. But as you're pushing up in numbers, you're kind of changing over your packaging. You're moving towards, at the point, you're a brand, you're a custom. So what you need to do is start protecting against copycats, especially if you really push scale. You're going to pop up on brand search. You're going to pop up on, if you're doing takeout shop, Callow data. You're going to pop up on Shop Hunter. On all these different tools, someone's going to rip you, especially for China. This is something that happened to me early on with one of my brands, is if you don't set up your, I forgot what it's called, Amazon registration, I believe it is, and you don't get up on there very early with your product as you scale, someone from China is going to throw it up on there with, a third of your price and take everything from you. It'll be very hard to compete with them. If the quality isn't good, which more than likely isn't, you won't be able to beat them on the cost or the price of it. So people will go to them, the fake, and they'll just cook all your traffic. There's even, ones that'll run Google ads under your name. So I have a Google shopping store right now. And I've, run high ticket drop shipping in the past where the only thing that you did was you found a product with demand on Google from someone running meta ads or organic or whatever. And then you just listed it on your store at a good price, set some good, benefits reason they should buy from you, and then just ran Google ads and took all their demand. People are going to do this to you. This is business. We're not out here holding hands, bro. So make sure you're protecting against these trademarks. You can do this in China if you have an agent, per agency. We have one, but it takes a good amount of time. And you can US, of course. And then if you're selling a drop shipping product, isn't talked about much, but you can actually just buy out all the stock and then set up different ways that people can sell it. So proprietary, tech, whatever, and just start thinking about that, because when you go to exit, if that's your goal, having this set up is a great protection and asset overall to the business. And not many people are going to be doing it. And it creates, a bit of a moat for you. So you're worrying less about, oh, this dude's ripping my ads. You can just text a guy and get him going. Shopify apps. So ones that I use Instant for landing pages. I have videos on how I use it. But Instant or Gem pages, they're both very good. Now you can kind of clone all of your landers inside of Claude and then just put that HTML inside Gem pages so it works very quickly. Zipify, post-purchase upsell. I have a video on how we set it up. Get like a 40-50% take rate. It cooks every time. Upcart drawer. We'll run that. Slide drawer. And it'll cook. We have custom codes. Those are in the course. Text cart. Shout out to Kyle. Found him on Twitter. But it's great. It's kind of like an AI sort of SMS abandon. So when you're, starting to push traffic, lots of people are going to be abandoning checkouts. I would set it up. It's easier than paying an email agency, and you don't have to manage it yourself, and it'll actually give you a really good return. And judge me for reviews. You don't have to run this realistically, but it's good. And then there's ways that, if you're moving a little gray hat, you can import and fake reviews using ChatGPT. Tracker123, we use that, but also Parcel Panel is very good from what I hear. They will tax you. True Profit, we use this for profit tracking, and Triple Whale. So Triple Whale is what I'll use to track kind of ad attribution, like a different dashboard. So really, if I'm scaling, I'm going off in Triple Whale more than in the ads manager with its own several UTMs. And then so if you get paid plan, it cooks with the free is good. And True Profit for profit tracking, because this one you can actually set up the shipping lines or rates, for different units, fees, everything. So it'll be the closest thing you can get to automatic profit tracking, but make sure you're also doing it yourself. We have a template inside of the Discord just grab it, bro, and make sure you're filling that out, or just get a VA. Disputify, they just recently got cooked, so now we're using Disputely, and they've been great for us. Crazy low fees. If you're inside of there, you can send them a message. He'll get you like, I think it might be their cost for it. I don't even know how it's so well, but it's extremely good. Founder is extremely nice guy. Shout out to you. But Disputify was pretty good software. We didn't have massive issues until they got hacked. Whew. Now, avoiding holds and bans. So you need to do your forecasting. So cash flow is literally the name of the game in this, in lots of different businesses, but especially in e-commerce, you need to have a tracking and understanding of your cash flow. So you want to kind of extend this out using credit lines with your suppliers. You can get them with Meta as well, and trying to really maximize the cash collection cycle. I think some fancy term, but basically how quickly, if you if you put money out into that account, or you use credit or whatever it may be, how quickly that money's going into your bank account and how long they could stay there. That'll allow you to scale without as much of a risk, especially as you're building out teams and, dealing with what everyone hates, a Shopify hole or bid. So ways to get around this, or, at least protect you. It's much more aggressive now with Vamp. So what I would recommend is really focusing on making your customers happy, as crazy as that sounds. So good customer support. Have them respond quickly to tickets. We use Reamaze for the software on that. As long as you respond to tickets pretty quickly and you're honest, you can usually, even if it's really bad, kind of get away with it a lot more. They'll be more lenient because they know it's not a scam. What we do is we operate off of a 1 through 10 cycle, which is basically 1 through 3. We're going to offer them, I think we're going to let them keep the product plus give them like a 15%, gift card equal to their AOV. So this will, or, 3 to 1 is realistically what you will. So basically the amount that you would spend to acquire the customer is how much you're going to give away in like store credit or gift card. So if they come back and buy, it's basically like you just spent ads, realistically. So you're still profitable in that. 4 to 7, you're going to offer them a 50%. 7 to 10, if they're threatening BBB, ban you, about to complain to Shopify. Some people do that now, or they're going to charge back, go to their credit card company, just refund them, bro. The last thing that you want is chargebacks, because you will get cooked. They stack up quickly. Try and stay under a 0.5%. The lower you can get it, the better. Even if you have to take a hit on the refunds, it's a lot better because those chargeback prevention tools will charge you fees. I've heard of guys that, they were able to block a lot of chargebacks, but after they took a look at the fees, they realized they were actually unprofitable and everything. It's like a hidden cost that even I don't really track as well as I should. But you want to use these chargeback prevention tools as best you can, but still don't get chargebacks because those fees are going to eat you up, bro. I promise. No homo. Shopify payments. It'll give you a better valuation from what I've heard. And realistically, is the most payment methods, is the most congruent, highest approval rate, especially if you're in the US. So I would prefer that, often stay on it. But if you're pushing subs very heavily, or if you're a bit riskier, or your chargebacks is stacking up, then think about moving over to something else that can also tokenize your sub. On this brand I'm giving you guys right now, the kind of case study for, we got taken down around 45K days or so, and around 60% sub take rate. So that was like, whatever, maybe 28K in subs that day. Well, we ended up losing those all completely because Shopify payments went down and we didn't own the tokens for those subs. So we couldn't migrate them over to a different payment processor. That is something you're able to do with like a high risk or a different one. They tokenize your subs. So if you want to move over, you can. Now there's different methods, from what I hear, where you can pull them off of Shopify, but you won't get taxed. I promise you. Boom. Ad account infrastructure. You want to have, I'm not the best with this realistically. We have the founder of Ad Revival is in the community. He sent in a long document. I would tell you just go in there and read it realistically. But, you want to have your pixel holder. You want to have multiple profiles. If you have a partner, have him have access to that account as well. You want to have the ad account, different people have access to it. So if you get banned, someone still has it. You want to have a warmed up backup. GDE, I would recommend as well. I said this earlier. And then what's an additional thing? Make sure that you're paying your billing thresholds as much as you can, because that will raise up your risk. And then try to avoid rejections. If your ads are getting rejected constantly, that raises up your risk profile, and then you're going to be more, susceptible to a ban. Shopify backup stores, different proxy, different profile, different LLC, and just make a Shopify backup store, kind of let it sit around for a while now, especially how long payout times are. Maybe do a test order so every now and then, so you can kind of show it's maybe a little bit active, and then they'll start reducing down your payout times, but it's a long process. So I'll try to stick to one safe, trusted Shopify store, get the payout times as good as possible. Multi-channel backup. So this is a very complex subject, but you want to have backups everywhere. Realistically, that's just the best thing to tell you guys. So if you're running on Google, backups are a bit more difficult, but you can get them. You can set it up very easily. If you're running on Snapchat, Pinterest, make sure you have those ready. And then make sure you have an easy way to just get it back live. So if it takes time out of your day to set these up, it'll be very important, because one day it might happen to you, and having that backup will save your ass. So now on to first steps for scaling. I told you guys this would be a long video. This is how I came into the brand. So normal. I came onto the I came onto the store around like $500 a day in revenue, I believe was 500 to 800. And the metrics on it were actually pretty good. It was pretty profitable. But I noticed cost per add to cart was good. Cost per initiate checkout was decent. But cost per purchase was too high. So this meant that there's mainly a trust issue in there, and then possibly an offer issue. But you need to take a good look throughout the entire funnel. And if you set up a tool like Microsoft Clarity, you can literally just watch people, go through it all. And you can identify things very quickly. So the way that I was able to identify it, which I think is pretty important, is by looking at cost per metrics. So this is really what I go off of for lots of things. It allows me to find very quickly what the constraint is. You can look at like cost per view, cost per 1,000 views, cost per unique outbound click, cost per landing page view, cost per add to cart, cost per checkout, cost per purchase. Those metrics right there, if all of them look stable and then one just peaks up, boom, you found a constraint. And you're looking at it on a dollar basis versus just percents, because percents, realistically, my CTR isn't going to be the same as your CTR, but I might think mine is really good, because I'm profitable. But cost per is very clear. I want to hit this number, you profitable, this number, and this number. So that's what I look at. Now, after I found that, I decided to move over and found that the ads weren't the constraint, because we're looking at the click-through rate, the CPM, those cost per content and view is the one you have to look at, cost per outbound click. Those are all very good, but the cost per purchase was high. So that's a landing page issue. So I put my focus onto the slide cart. So as I told you guys earlier, if you paid attention, up cart slide drawer, we have custom liquids. I put these in right here. This is a very good example of what it looked like. Trust pilot, payment batches, checkout securely. Just added on more trust, and then this instantly allowed us lots more space because the conversion rate bumped up. Another thing you could do is look at the checkout logo, make sure it's centered, and you can add on like trust badges with that as well. If you want to see what this actually looks at, I would look up Venom Sense. You can literally see that they, like their logo, they made it in Canva. I think we had a template in the group, but it's just like logo, testimonials, stars, trust. So then post-purchase upsell. So our ROAS was like extremely tight for scale. So like, let's say your CAC, here's a good number right here. So our CAC was $15. We acquired them, our CAC was $15 and we made 12% net margin on that, just roundabout. Well, we want to get that as high as possible so that we can scale. We can go on the front end and do these things, but the easiest thing to do is just be super aggressive on the back end. So we'd optimize and set up our PPU, post-purchase upsell, and the way I set up is free product plus charge shipping. Offer 1, offer 2, offer 3, all the exact same. And the take rate on it is crazy. It doesn't make sense, but it works every single time. It will give you so much more room to scale because every single customer is worth so much more money, especially when you get that take rate high. We were seeing around like $8 revenue per visitor boost just by setting this up. And then it's very easy to just keep split testing. You can test $15 versus $12 versus 17, and see what gives you the highest RPV, which is what you want to optimize for, and then just go with that one and stick with it. And then from there, we optimize and fix all these things. So the backend funnel is good. It's solid. Let's just focus on, just driving as much traffic as possible. Just pull the lever, retard max, So all the focus went to the creatives. So I analyze them very deeply. What I can tell you guys to do, to actually analyze your creatives, is look at data, and then apply that to research. So for example, I was just making briefs for one of my brands. The first thing I did was go to the ad account and I looked at the top spenders. I pulled out all the soft metrics as well as the kind of hard metrics. I don't know what you would really call them, but I pulled out the CPM, the page, engagement. I pulled out the ranking zone. I pulled out the cost per metrics. I pulled out as much stuff as I could and the landing page. And then I went to the post. I looked at the page it was running from. I looked at the design of it, and I looked at every single comment. And then I put those into my Claude, and that's, my data. This is what we're working with. Here's what it all looks like. And then I applied the research that we had on the back end. So post-purchase surveys, market research, et cetera, et cetera. And as if you have it, the brief for why you even decided to test that ad. And then I gave it all of this. And I said, here's what's running. Let's understand why this isn't getting us to $1 million a day. What's the issue with this? Because every ad can always be improved, even if it's your winner. So we have all the data to look at. We have the creative, you're giving as much information into your AI as you possibly could. And the context, or by giving it that versus just going in there and saying, hey, we tested this, it worked, let's make a new one, is that it has more data, as I keep saying, to go off of for you to improve on, and that you're coming in with your own learnings off of it. So I really look at this. I'll go through the landing pages going over. I'll look at, I don't think this is good, et cetera, et cetera. And then I'll just spit out a bunch of briefs for it. And you keep iterating on it. So you want to have briefs for everything, because the brief will tell you what you're testing. And then from there, you can understand either why it worked or why it didn't work. And then what the thought process was behind that. And then as you build out a team, if you have a brief, you can just hit it off to your team. They'll get the ads ready for you. And then this should all turn into a big circular loop. So you test, live, review, new ads, test, boom, boom, boom. Big circle. It's a feedback loop. That's what it actually is. And this will allow you to have creative team clarity if it's all tracked on the board. So I think I have a video showing you guys my complete setup. If you're a one-on-one, we can set it up differently for you based off what you need. But everyone's operating off this same feedback loop. The learnings that you're getting, you're feeding to your team. You're hopping on calls frequently with them. You're, training them up, all these different things, even getting outside, feedback on your ads. Then you'll get much more creative with it all. And you'll be operating off of what you already have, which is data and research, instead of just fucking guessing, which is what a lot of people are doing. But I think that's pretty much all of it for first step to scaling. Now we'll get to, teams. I was completely wrong. We're getting on website, offer, and branding. So based off of those cost per metrics, you can also see if the offer is the issue. So this will usually be if you can tell that, for example, your cost per add to cart isn't very good, then oftentimes it might be the offer itself, or the product. So playing with that and finding one that's a high margin. So the markup that I really want to have often now is like a 5x, because that gives you lots of room to mess with. Your break-even ROAS is as low as possible, your target ROAS, all this stuff. So you just want high margin, but one that gets you a good conversion. So track your profit per visitor, your revenue per visitor, if you want to test a new offer, see which is the best. Then once you have one that's working, dude, just fucking scale it up as much as you can, and then test a new one on the side. You can launch a new campaign with that new offer you want to test, new ad sets. That's what we usually do. But whatever, just max it out. As you get to a serious amount of scale, you have traffic coming from more places. So especially if you're running Google ads, or, you're really pushing meta hard, people will start going to your homepage, or people will, click on the ad, go to your product page, not purchase there, and then type you up and go to whatever pages you have and do more research or maybe they'll go try to find your Trustpilot, et cetera, et cetera. The best thing that we found for maximizing this was just giving them everything they need up front. So for example, if you take a look at NeuroGum, I have the example right here for you guys, actually. They have this right here in the nav bar. So they have an About Us, the Science, Ambassadors and Partners, FAQs. That's a pretty simple setup. We'll have like a mission page. We'll have the science / how it works page, ingredients page going over every single ingredient if it's a supplement. The expanded FAQ, so a whole page just on FAQs, get as specific as possible and categorize them by shipping. You could have ingredients. You could have one on, uh, policies, etc. So then if someone is really, what's the word? Debating, I guess, or they have objections to purchasing, instead of them, going out and then doing the research somewhere else, it's all on your website so that you keep them on there and then you can try and get that conversion. But the main thing you want to focus on is your product page, especially in the beginning. But as you start testing more, funnels, more ads, then you can go off to listicles, advertorials, etc. But we're just going to focus on product page for now. Main thing you need to understand is 80% of people aren't going to go past your add to cart motive. So that's the most important part. So, very good image carousel. You want to have your reviews. You want to have collapsible rows and let me reiterate. The image carousel is extremely important. Look at Grunts. Look at any of these brands. Scaling Crazy. Narrowgums is pretty decent as well. Their image carousel explains everything you need to know, no matter what part of the funnel you're in. This is the main thing that's going to sell. The bat right there is really doing a lot of the work. So if that's done well, it'll convert. Microsoft Clarity, watch the recordings, see the heat maps, see where they click off, see where they have more questions, etc. Look at the bounce, and that's where your focus goes. And then collapsible tabs, the main one we works is like how it works, ingredients, and then shipping guarantees. And then if you're doing like a community support thing with your product, or like you're donating a percent, etc., then have that in a row as well. And then branding beyond the store. As you're pushing numbers, people will spend more time, and just kind of in your funnel. So on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you are. So something we found that did well was like a link tree. So having the link tree and then showing these pages, as you can see here, like the Narrowgum inside of there. So depending what part of the funnel or objection they have, they can just click on one of these straight to the website. So this did well, and it's way softer of a CTA than just showing like shop now 60% off your Instagram. If you look at the largest brands, they spend more time on their Instagram with like branding and education and like community than they do on just like buy, because different people are at different stages. So as you go more top of funnel, you need to be aware of that and optimize for it. Now, hopefully, I know where we get to. We get to Shopify reports and data, which is, actually something that I think is very overlooked. Now with reports, the main ones I look at nowadays is conversion rate by landing page, which is basically sessions by landing page, and then you add some custom metrics. I look at chargeback rate. I look at net sales and AOV, and then custom metrics. You're going to have to set these up as revenue per visitor, profit per visitor, and then basic just conversion rate breakdown. If you're looking at conversion rate by landing page, if you're running multiple funnels, so like listicles, advertorials, you can find which one is doing the best. That's the easiest way to figure out which one is doing well, besides having that metric set up in your ad account. So you need to have that one set up. It takes 30 seconds to do, but it'll give you so much more clarity. Chargeback rate under 0.5, let's say 0.3 to be more safe. Net sales and AOV, don't always optimize for AOV, optimize for profit per visitor. If bumping my price down by $5 gets me more profit per person that goes on the website, but my AOV drops, I don't give a fuck. You're just being completely honest. At the end of the day, you will profit, not just a crazy high AOV. Don't over optimize for, the main metric is profit. So you need to be tracking that more often than not. And then the easiest way to see that, how it gets affected with different tests, is by seeing how it affects it on a visitor, per visitor basis. So look at that. Then chargeback rate. Okay, this is a bit of sauce on how it works as a percentage. If you're seeing your chargebacks are starting to creep in more often, the easiest way to kind of cancel it out, which it won't really cancel out, but it'll kind of extend out your time period. This could be good, it could be bad. Figure out your situation and, see which one works for you. Is a push more orders. Since it's a percentage, one chargeback for 100 orders is a 1% chargeback. One chargeback of 1,000 orders is a whatever, 0.10%. I think it is. So that right there, your chargeback rate is massively different. So if you're seeing that your chargebacks are starting to creep in and you need to stay around, push those budgets, push the orders in. Really get to work on that. It'll keep you around for a lot longer if you're able to fix those back end issues. Otherwise, it'll just make it a lot worse. So, take a look at that and, decide well. And, shout out to Defino again. If you can read data, you will never go broke. Uh, this is like the greatest thing I live on, and it gives you so much more clarity because you can instantly identify the constraint, where the leak is, and where the best point of like maximization is. For example, I don't, you're technically in my funnel right now. If I take a look at X compared to YouTube, compared to TikTok, compared to Instagram, it's very clear if I'm tracking it that YouTube does the absolute best for growing the community. But for some reason, I wasn't tracking the data. So I said, okay, let's move to TikTok out of VA, team built, and we started posting on TikTok. And once I started tracking it, then I was like, okay, I'm wasting time and money on TikTok, and I don't even like the app when my focus needs to be on YouTube. I can just come on here, sit, drop sauce, talk to you guys, and it'll bring in the actual type of people that I would want to work with one-on-one, or I just want in the community, and we can all provide value to each other. If I wasn't tracking, if I didn't decide to use my brain and track the data on it, then I'd be completely lost. So the best way to get comfortable with data is to spend more time with it. So easy thing is AI is built off of data, export it out, put it in there, and just have a conversation. This is something I did very early on. I would just sit there, export out my ad account metrics, send in ChatGPT, Claude, whichever one, and just talk about what the different metrics mean. What my unique outbound is. That compared to, regular outbound, compared to just unique click. What's the difference? What am I aiming for? What is my target conversion rate based off of my cost per click? How do I tell where the constraint is based off this cost for this click? It's basically being a nerd, bro. And the best way to figure out these things is with AI. So get that feedback in, learn how to read data, and you'll be good, mud. If there's anything you pull from this, if you learn how to pull data and you track it and you do it well and you stay focused, you will print. I promise. Now, sauce for each different channel. So Google Ads. This is kind of a more specific channel depending on where you're scaling. But I'd say if you're over 30K a month, then you can start running Google Ads. That's like a pretty good basis that I found. The way that you set it up is with a 3-tier shopping campaign setup. This shows the exact YouTube video I recommend for you guys to learn it. We should have course videos of Google Ads up, depending on when you guys are seeing this. But high, medium, low, each one is tiered to a basic different type of pocket of your audience you're aiming for. So high will be like knee brace, for example. Medium will be like brand name knee brace. Low will be the exact SKU, exact color, everything. So low, you'll bid more than the medium will bid more than the high, because they'll each have a different conversion rate and be more profitable. But you'll look at the overall, high, medium, low, how is the profitability on that? They approach it kind of like you would a meta funnel. You want to see the overall shopping campaigns versus just each individual one and how they're affecting scalability. If you set that up correctly, we were pushing, 20K a day just off of Google. Just by doing this, it's very easy. A bit of extra sauce with you guys is GMC duplication. If you have multiple SKUs, you'll see that in your GMC, it won't just show as one product with different variants. It'll show each as a different product. So you can maximize that by changing the product titles, the images, and testing what works the best, and just completely flooding basically the auction. So we did on accident was every listicle advertorial we would test. We started duplicating the product and then setting up a new caching bundle with it. So then I was able to track the conversion rate, going from listicle C to our product C, and see, how are they converting on the product page, and by looking at the bundle. What this accidentally did was it gave us more products and more variants inside of the GMC. So we had about, I don't even know how many, we could say 80 in there. And I just went through, every single one had a different optimized title, maybe 30%, no, 40% were high, and then the rest were like medium, very few percent were low. Took over the market completely. It was the easiest thing I've ever done. It works no matter where you're, running. These are from what I know, The Google Shopping guys killing it too. They optimize on the titles, and then once you've optimized titles, found what works the best, optimize on the images, and then move from there. But super easy thing to do. Doesn't take long. Google search, you would have your brand search campaign. So this will go after your brand name and product name and bid high for these. You don't want anyone else to get them. And then you'll have your competitive. So when you're not at risk for DMCA, start going after your competitors' keywords, and you could literally build out listicles where it's just brand, competitor versus your brand. And it's a full list which is dedicated to shit on the site, and you'll be able to take some of their market share by doing this. And then cold search. So this is much more difficult. I don't think we cracked it on this one, but it would be going after a term like knee brace or, knee pain, and then having like an advertorial, listicle, something like that that's able to convert them. This will allow you to scale more, but, obviously it's much, much more difficult than branded or even competitor. Facebook ads. This is a bit of nuance, but for this one, we run bid caps. So we have one bid cap campaign, and we spammed whitelist and listicles and advertorials and image ads and everything in there. But the most important thing that you need to understand is pick one strategy and stick to it. So for this one, we decided bid cap was the best because we didn't have to worry about profit. All the focus went into, just more creatives. But for some other brands, because you can't do that. For some reason, the auction doesn't work very well with your bid cap. It might be because you don't have enough data. It might be because, the one you're targeting, just Meta doesn't think it can get it. I don't really know. We could sit here and, talk about it, but there's so many nuances to, Meta and how it works. But if I had to pick one, only one that I could run, it would be an inflated bid cap. So inflated goes on the budget. So for example, I would set my budget at like $50,000. And then the bid cap would be set to, profitable CPA. And then I'm just spamming ads so you can get as much budget as possible. But Meta's only going to spend up till where that CPA is hitting the bid cap that I've set. So on that day, it might only spend 5K. And then the next day, it has more demand. It'll spend 15. Then it'll go down to 9. But every single day, I'm hitting that 25% net margin, whatever my target is. At that point, bro, you don't understand how peaceful life was. I deleted Shopify. I didn't check my ad account. Only thing I did was focus on creatives and backend. I didn't focus on backend as much as I should have. But that was all I had to do every single day. It was a very peaceful. If I could only run one thing, that's what I do. Starting off, you need to run highest volumes up. So run highest volume, realistically, one CBO. Every ad set is a new test. So new test doesn't just have to be new concept. This could be a new test on the page. This could be a new test on the offer. This could be a new test on the, the landing page. Whatever it may be, just do it in one CBO. If the product isn't like comparing like these gloves is cold as hell, it's not product comparing these gloves to my phone. It's two completely different categories. If it's like mechanism A, it could be like a drop, and then mechanism B is a gummy, but it's still your brand. Just run them in one campaign and scale it, bro. Realistically, you don't need separate campaigns. If you're running multiple geos, then start doing separate campaigns because each one is gonna, have a different performance. But keep it as simple as possible. Raise your budgets, run more ads. Scaling logic. With the bid cap, I was able to do every week. I would just turn off things that weren't spending. And I very, very rarely ever had to turn anything off that was unprofitable. But with highest volume, I would aim to do things every 3 days is what we do. So every 3 days, go in there, turn off what isn't spending or what is, below your break-even ROAS. But you have to be more careful with highest volume because it's operating as a full funnel. It's a campaign budget optimization. So the optimization is happening on the campaign level, not the ad set. So each ad set has a job that it's supposed to be doing. So you might turn off your top spending ad set, thinking that's going to, allocate the budget to, the one that's not getting any spend, but super profitable. And now completely cook your performance and it won't make sense to you. But if you had taken a look at like the frequency, for example, or like, really dived into the metrics and thought about how a funnel even works, you'd realize that by doing that, you're cooking it all. So take some more time when you're, figuring out what to cut, what to scale in the highest volume. But If you're unprofitable, bro, don't make a difference because you still gonna be unprofitable. Turn it off. So, main thing, and then always upload more ads. Always. If you're under $1,000 a day in budget, then go off of like budget divided by target CPA on how many ad sets you're putting up. If you're above that, bro, just spam them with intent. Let's spam them. Pinterest. Pinterest is super easy. Take your good ads for Meta, launch them on Pinterest, same exact funnel, same exact text, everything, you'll be good. The only thing you need to pay attention for is that scaling on there is different. It's not the same. So what we found was there was a certain budget we were able to push to, but you're not able to push to it super aggressively. And then once you get there, then it just kind of, stagnates from there. That's what we found. Pinterest was low maintenance, just take the Meta, throw them on there, as I said, and be congruent with what's already working and track the overall. At that point, you could start tracking like things are using triple well with triple attribution and see like how it's affecting Pinterest is affecting Meta, Meta is affecting Pinterest or Google, all these different ones. And then from there, you can just aim, are we profitable in the day? Okay, let's bump. Creatives. I've kind of touched on this just talking around everything, but we're gonna, just give you complete game. So I'm just gonna yap for however long and give you guys lots of what I know about creatives. Not everything, but lots. Rule number one, always be testing. Testing, as I said in the very beginning, is trying to figure out more of it's like the scientific method. You do an observation, you come up with your hypothesis, and then you test your hypothesis, and then you collect feedback, and you get your conclusion, and then you test your new hypothesis off of it. So you're always going to have new variables. You want to test them and see what works the best. Upload frequency, I went over this a little bit. Budget divided by target CPA until you get to 1,000. From there, upload as much as possible, bro, with intent. So best way that we found, an actual system for this is image ads, use those as quantity, and video ads, use those as quality. So machine gun versus sniper approach. Image ads, with AI especially, you can get 50 up in a day, but you won't have intent behind each one of them. So then when you go back and check it the next day, you have a new learning that you could pull and iterate. With video ads, you can't put up 50 video ads realistically. I don't know. Some people might. Per day, per editor. So it's more of a sniper approach that you want to get. If you get a video ad up, you want it to take over spend. The image ad, you want the same, but realistically, you approach them more as like, trying to maybe find the target with your machine gun, and then the sniper is just be the headshot. So that's how I approach them across all my brands. We push volume. So every image editor does around 3 to 5 concepts a day. Every video editor does 5 concepts a week. There's a major difference in volume on that when you track variation and how cheap the image editor is. I can have 5 image editors. Video editors, I can't have. You can, but I just don't. Just for bud. Uploading. And okay, one thing I almost missed. Think of it as like rocket engines. So the image ads, the video ads, then you got your Rift if you're still doing that. And then you've got like maybe product seeding, So these are each like 4 different engines of like your rocket ship, your brand. You want them each to be powerful, but they all work together. So if the image ads are doing one thing, max this out, really dive into the quality on it, make sure it's good as possible. But once you see what's working over here, why would you not take that over to the video ads and then see if you can replicate it? And then same for, your product seeking UGC. The Ripped ads, if you're saying this one, creator's killing it, you can reach out to her, but it might not work, But you can find a creator that's the opposite of her and then run that same script. It'll hit a different pocket of the audience. There's no reason why you can't see what's working on the image ad side, take it to the video ads, and vice versa. So max them all out. You're going to have to do this with VAs. Upload system. Originally was faced with media library. Now I use Rapid Ads. I have a VA that manages it. We can upload hundreds of ads a day. I pay him shout out to him, by the way. But it doesn't cost very much at all. Copy testing. Approach your primary text and headlines as a new way of testing as well. So you can do dynamic creative breakdowns on them. and you can see which ones are getting the most spend, which ones are converting the best, which one has highest ROAS. So there's no reason why you shouldn't be testing 3 variations per like ad concept. So 3 primary text, 3 headlines per ad concept, and then really put work into them. So even if you're not running natives, put quality behind it. There's some brands that are massive that they only run one, but if you put intent behind that, you can start pulling learnings from so many different ways. Metrics that matter. At the end of the day, you want to look at your money metrics, like cost pers. But when you're trying to analyze a creative on like a really, really nerdy level, CPM, CTR, etc. But the number one KPI, most important, remember this, is amount spent. Especially when you're like, I was gonna say especially with highest volume, but same for bid cap. Amount spent. What is getting the most spend? You want to do more of, even if it means you're just pulling the learning and it's not profitable. You can iterate on it and make it better. Then on competitors, now there's different ways to do ads. There's imitation, ideation, iteration. Depending on what is working the best for you, I would say really dive more into that. I do very well with like combining ideation and iteration, but we have one-on-one guys that's just he's a killer at imitation, but implements some ideation to it as well. So what I would recommend to guys is maybe do a bit of an 80-20, but don't box yourself in to where you only take your competitors' ads and change the script, because you will burn out. I promise you. The guys that scale crazy fast and then just die out, that are only, looking what the competitor's doing, that's because there's no learnings happening from it. Now, if you're only testing new ideas constantly, well, you're not getting the most that you can out of each idea. So kind of balance it, find what works the best for you, and then just stick to it. You need a system for it all. Now, this is a sauce that, really like took us crazy. Was I discovered, like I was Columbus, the power of pre-landers and of whitelist pages. So what a whitelist page is, let's say best way is like a brand page versus a personal page. Now, if your mom was to post something, you're going to trust it much more than if, Grons was to post it. Because Grons, their objective is to sell you. Your mom is just maybe to just share it. Whitelists kind of operate in the same way. So what you can do, instead of just running ads from your brand page, you can operate in, make a Facebook page that's a doctor, make one that's a personal page, make one that's a, themed or like organization, all these different ways, and just max it out. So it's much more congruent, more native, and you can get more out of a winning ad. You can take a winning ad, change the perspective, take off. That's the biggest learning I pulled from this brand right there. Was that right there? And then using those whitelist scores. So what we found was we might run something from a personal page. Cost per click will decrease. The click-through rate will be better, but the conversion rate will decrease because we're hitting a new pocket of the audience that, isn't realizing that they're maybe being sold to. So this is where I really started diving into list goals, pre-landers, all these different ones, where you can even just take a winning ad that died out, throw a new pre-lander on the back end of it, and it'll take off. So make sure you're systemizing this. Don't go stupid crazy with testing pre-landers and all this other stuff. I did for a period of time, like a week straight, and that scale was fast, but you'll burn out. There's no system behind it if you're not tracking it. And especially if you're bringing on multiple people, there's no way you can consistently do it. So track your different landing pages, the angles, the desires, awareness, same way you would a creative. And then make sure that the ads that you're making are congruent to the page that you want to run it on. And this will be able to maximize the hit rate for everything that you're doing. As well, you can start testing every ad with a different landing page. So if you add concept A, you could take ad concept A, run one version of product page, and then take ad concept A, duplicate it, and run it to a pre-lander that's congruent. That'll be able to give you a higher hit rate because the congruency on them is different. But this is a massive thing. And then headlines and text. So the primary text and headline has to be congruent to the whitelist page. Otherwise, it looks weird. So make sure you're, if you're taking an ad and then changing the page on it, do the same thing for the headline and primary text. It'll be much more congruent. It'll work well. Using AI, operate from the basis of AI is another brain that can organize and check you versus just it's like God. Things is a big issue. Prompts are amazing, but the best ads that I've made, usually don't come from prompts. So you want to have an actual understanding of marketing. The thing about a prompt is you're kind of distilling down ideas and frameworks and learnings as a way to get out more speed and consistency. If you were to compete against a prompt and the prompt is beating you, that's kind of a skill issue. I'm not gonna lie. So you want to develop the skills still, but in the beginning, bro, max out AI. Put your brain into it. So Claude project, this is what we operate out of. Market research, post-purchase surveys, comments, winning ads, analysis, data, as much information as you can put in there, because there's going to become a point, even maybe now, depending on your skill level or understanding, that AI can do everything, especially when you start integrating innate flows and all these other things that are crazy. The volume that you get out of that with a tight feedback loop is insane. So use it to double check your ads. You can do that in Google Studio. I think Claude can now. Before you even launch them, run it against a checklist. When you have an ad that works well, take the data, take the brief, take the image itself or the video, take the landing page it's running to, and then put into Claude and, pull more learnings out of it, and then work off of that to come up with your concepts. And then this will be able to help you organize briefs for your team a lot better. And then once you get to like a stage where it makes sense, you start figuring out ways to get innate flows and, connect it with your Monday or ClickUp and then generate AI images. But the main goal of AI is just to take, I would say, centralized knowledge and then combine that with like speed, if that kind of makes sense. It's not just, AI is God, that's my brain. It does everything for you. No, or at least not yet. Combining your own creativity with Claude's organization is the best thing that I've found so far. So you guys can do that well, then cook. And then a thing on guardrails is Claude and Gemini have different guardrails. So Claude will call something out much quicker than Grok or Gemini will. Around we have an emotional valence prompt inside of there. If I throw that into Claude, it's going to say, this is kind of crazy. But if I do that in Gemini or Grok, it's going to go crazy. It's going to be very aggro. So know the benefits of each one. I would say Claude is the best for copywriting, but it's not as aggressive as like Gemini. So if you want to be very aggressive, take your Claude and then throw that into Gemini and get aggro with it. That'll cook for you. But understanding the difference in LLMs, how they operate, if you like Nano Banana Pro versus ChatGPT image generation, there's different tools they can use to compare them. Play around with AI a little bit, but it's you need to integrate it, but don't rely on it and you'll do well. And then I'm going to have this Miro board as well as the Notion version of this case study in the bottom of the description, but we're not going to go over prompts, because you could take these and copy paste them, SLPs either. But last thing we're going to go over, I said this be a long video, but teams and systems. So this is actually updated on how I do it all. So you guys will understand how I'm doing this literally today. So tech stack that I work on. I work on Brennan Search. I like Atria. I have Triple Whale free plan. And then I use Monday.com for dashboards. So I track my video ads, my image ads, performance, growth guide, everything inside of there. Communication, I no longer use Slack. I now have a Discord because it's free. You can set up workflows as well. It's, it's like Slack for free, realistically. A Milano for tracking briefs. Originally, we use that. Now I just make it in a Google Doc and pass it off. True Profit for automated profit tracking. QuickBooks, hook up that to your bank account and it'll kind of automate everything for the bookkeeper, make it much easier. Things that are missing, Ecom talent. Training for every creative person, they immediately go into Ecom talent. This isn't like no glaze, nothing. I'm telling you, every time I throw them into Ecom talent, they come out a killer. It's to the point, I don't have to hire the best creative strategist there is. I'm going to put them into Ecom talent and train them and then make them that. So this is current tech stack. I think that there is additionally Claude. Well, during Claude, there is this one software called, I forgot, you guys can find it, but it compares different AI generation tools to each other. It's in the community if you're in there, but it compares the two. That's what I use for like image generation now, but main one I use is Nano Banana Pro. And brand search, I think I mentioned this, but these are the main tech stack that I use every single day, as well as ads power because my Facebook got banned. So you have to connect up a proxy and then I operate off of there. Image ad system. So the system that I run off of for everything was really built off of this, to be honest. So shout out to D2C Midas. But using Monday, we set up a system. There's a video I'll put in the whatever it's called thing at the very end of this. But in it, you will track different rows and columns for different, things that we need to see. So we'll track the desire, the avatar, the awareness for every single ad. We'll track the concept name, we'll track its priority status, and then we'll track if it was a winner or not. So over time, it turns from just testing to data. So for 10 ads, we can see 8 out of 10 of them that didn't, or 100 ads. We can see, 8 out of 10 of them that we tested unaware for never hit. But when we did that same concept and problem aware hit, having data and everything, as I said, data, is king. If you have that, then it's much easier to know what to do next. And if it's all organized in one board, it's way easier to onboard a new team member and get them in there. Another thing we track in there is what landing page it goes to. So since I have a VA now who handles the ad uploading, we have to give more information to him. So we'll track, when we're briefing this out and putting in the Monday, we'll put the landing page that we want it to go to. We'll put the page that we wanted to run off of, all these different things. So it's very clear, high intent behind everything. And we know why something didn't work. And then when he comes in to upload the ads, he can see what his job is. Winning styles, we'll track them on there as well. For us, this is a new video I have coming out this week, but there's really only 2 styles I call now. Click generating ones and then make them buy. We go with the click generating because we want that top of funnel game. But every now and then hit those bottom of funnel, collect those, easy money people. Video ads, exact same. You could even run it in the same board, which is what we're doing now. But main difference is tracking iterations versus like big swings, which I think is very important. Is when you're iterating on an ad, I think is important to go over, as I just said. You don't want like a 10% difference. You want to really understand on like a foundational level, or even like just guess, why something worked and then try and make it better. Way that you do this is with all the data that I told you guys about earlier, pulling the soft metrics, the landing page, and then throwing it into Claude, as well as your own learnings from watching it, getting on calls with your team, etc. But from there, your goal is to beat it, like embarrass the ad. It's not to make it 10% better. You want winners. You want to scale. So go and swing for the home, for a home run by taking that past one and then making it way better. So this will come from like a more in-depth script, better B-roll, the new page, analyzing the comments and then integrating those with the ad, whatever it may be. But you just want to pull learnings from everything, especially on the video ads, because you're, sniper with those. And aim for goal. So strategy for winners. Oh, this is some sauce. The pre-lander whitelist thing I almost missed. Main driver for winners for us was literally taking what was working and then changing the perspective on it. So especially with a bid cap, I was able to span these, like I was crazy aggressive. I would max out every single page in my campaign every day. So let's say, for example, me sitting here talking to you. If I changed, if it was the exact same video, exact same script, but now it was Mark Village brand speaking here, it might speak to a different audience completely, but be the same format, same video, same message on it. But it's hitting a new pocket of the audience, and it's got a different congruency to a certain person. It operates the same way by changing their perspective on a whitelist page. So you can do that with your winning ads. Take your winning ad, put it into Claude, say, hey, I want to change the perspective of this from being my brand page to my avatar speaking in first person. And I want a good design that fits it as well. Boom, throw it up. I promise you'll hit a winner. I promise you'll hit a winner. If you don't hit a winner, send me a DM on Instagram. I'll send you USDT every single time. It might be a skill issue though. So, but That's how confident I am in it because it happens every single time. Do it tonight and you'll get some winners. So that's a massive thing. Crazy unlock for us. And then on the team ops, batch delivery, we had our strategists delivering weekly. So Monday through Friday was batch delivery. They upload them into that Monday. So either I'm uploading them or the VA now. Review loop, every Saturday and Sunday we would hop on a call, and now we just do every Wednesday, I think. In the middle of the week, we hop on our calls and we go over everything and then track the hit rate. So you always want a higher hit rate because that means you're spending less for a winning ad. You just kind of on a cost per basis. If you're paying $150 a week for 5 ads, that's $30 an ad. And you only have a 10% hit rate, you have to spend $300 for a winning ad. If that was in a 1%, you're spending $3,000. I think, I think that's mad. But just think of how dramatic a change that is. So just track hit rate, because otherwise you'll waste time, waste money, everything on more ads when the issue is your intent, your quality just isn't there. When teams and hiring, the system I had for this was I had my ops manager. Shout out to you, Nancy. She runs everything from issues, complete G. And then we had our customer support VA. As scaling, we added on another, and we had them running through at the time just Gmail. What I'm gonna tell you guys the current one that I had back then, and then I'm gonna tell you guys how I run it for all my brands out. 2 customer support VAs. One handled incoming tickets. One handled consistent tickets that need to be followed up on and handled, so that we could decrease the amount of time it took to speak to a customer and get down, the rage. Then we had my ops manager. She came in, she built the Monday for me, all this so I can just focus on like the top priorities, which was new briefs, new ads, fires, etc. Image ad editors, we had one main one doing 3 to 5 concepts a day, and then we added on another, so we were able to double it and keep the same, quality with it all. But that requires more briefs. But if there's no brief in there, they go in there, they just kind of freestyle, so we can still get something up that day. We pay them a bonus for each winner, and then I think it was per hourly, so like $6 an hour. And then for editors, train them up in ecom talent, same thing with the image editors, and turn them into strategists, so they're able to kind of work and flow and free, without you being like completely over their shoulder constantly with new briefs, revealing everything. And you can even just start building a team out underneath them, which is where I'm moving to. And the editors / strategists paid them $125 a week each for 5 concepts, and then they get bonuses. So 5% winning, 5% ad spend on the ones that they've uploaded, if they didn't hit deadlines or whatever it may be. And then 10% was given if they hit deadlines and they're on the calls. So they're incentivized by literally double to hit deadlines, hop on calls, provide quality, speak with us, etc. Just, do their job very well. Then a bookkeeper tracked actual net margin after everything. Was starting to handle cash flow forecast, inventory forecasting. And the way that I managed them all at the time was Slack, as I said. And then I did the payments through Hubstaff because I wanted to get up Upwork. And that worked pretty well. It wasn't a big deal. Now, for all my brands, I'll tell you guys in order of how I hire. First thing, customer support VA, image editor. Image editor, same thing, 3 concepts a day minimum, briefed, and get them into Monday. Customer support, they get on Reamaze, and then they handle every ticket daily. They can operate, they can work anytime at all. I don't care. Once we see tickets are starting to pick up, get another one to handle it. We want to be ahead of all the, customers. Operations manager, I still have her. She handles the hiring for me. So I have a pretty, sizable team now across all the brands. So being able to send her a message and be like, hey, I need a customer support VA for this brand. I need an image editor, video editor. And she already has the SOP, understanding of what I need. And then she can just go to Upwork and put it up and then pick a good one, onboard them into the Discord now. Saves so much time and headache, bro. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Especially to the point where like she's able to train them up, hop on the calls, handle, whatever issue comes up, follow up with me. It's the best hire I've ever made. If you're starting to push numbers and you need someone, basically a second you, do it. hire, you call it executive VA, assistant, whatever, ops manager, chief of staff, and just make that hire. Image editor, we'll get one on, make 3 concepts a day, and then we'll get the video editor. Reason I do image editors now first because it's kind of easy to bang out a winner with an advertorial now, and you can push so much volume. You can do natives, you do regular like lead gen style, run them to an advertorial and bang out tons of volume and get winners, especially with Nano Banana Pro, like these AI things. It's not difficult. The video ads on the other side is a bit more difficult. That's the main sort of team that I'll build out, and then of course you add on just kind of the more of them. So bring on new image editor, new video editor, trade them all up in Ecom talent as well. We'll bring on a bookkeeper next. And that's kind of how I operate my teams now, pretty lean. And then maybe you start adding on kind of side people that add to that. So like maybe someone that's prompting, doing prompting and, handling the product seeding or the AI UGC, whatever it may be. But that's the main ways that I run my teams, hiring the systems. And I think that's enough sauce for this video. It's been an hour and a half. So appreciate you guys for watching this. Any questions, send me the DM on Instagram. I really don't check YouTube comments, if I'm being honest with you guys. But I do appreciate all the support. We're at like 1.1 subs. I just come on here and talk shit and give you guys, how I do things. So that's everything. This Miro board will be linked in the description, as well as Dialed. Dialed is the kind of consulting group and community I've built out with the help of like some absolute killers. And we have a full course. We have a huge community, every insider, every plug you need, and it's lifetime. You pay one time, you get it. I'll show you everything in there. So if you're doing under 100K a month, that's just for you. If you're over 100K a month, bro, you can apply to work with me 101, and we'll get you to crazy numbers, and you'll be inside of the Dialed group, which is guys only that are over $1 million in revenue. In the value inside of there is you're not going to get that anywhere else. I can wholeheartedly say that. So if you fit over 100K a month and you want to work with me 101, go to Dialed Consulting and then click apply. If you're under that, then go through Run It Up, take the course, get a product scaling. And if you don't want to do either one, but you've done over $1 million in revenue, join Run It Up and then apply to get inside of Dialed. So appreciate you guys for watching, and I'll see you inside. Have a good one.